Okay. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Eternal Flames, and I am Blaze. So, I've been waiting to do this for a while, and this is an art channel by nature, but everybody needs currency, right? So I decided I was gonna do some games and stuff like that, but this week, I was sick last week. We had no art day. Myra is sick this week because she had to take care of my dumb ass. So, I'm gonna start running you guys through a couple of tutorials. Real basic stuff for the stuff that I personally do with my work, and mostly stuff you'll see with people like Element Animation or even the Captain Sparkles videos. Just basic, simple, elegant stuff, and I'll try to keep it as simple as possible, but as informative as possible. Today we're just gonna start with menus and basic tools and stuff like that, just so that you guys know what's happening. And that way, if you want to follow along or do your own thing, feel free. But do keep in mind that if I do end up making a character, I do plan to copyright. So don't make my character, but use the idea to make your own. Anyways, with that aside, let's go ahead and get down with this. So there are several tabs right here, and this is the PC version, mind you. The Mac version will vary. Keep that in mind, but the tools are all here nevertheless. We're gonna start with general, and this mostly just deals with like cameras and stuff like this is all stuff that you can do with basically buttons. Okay, with a camera, you can easily press them, hold Alt, and left mouse left mouse click, and you'll be able to rotate your camera. So this is unnecessary. If you middle mouse click, you can go up and down. Now this one basically just boom, roll your mouse wheel. Okay. So we're just gonna skip away from general. That's basically the only stuff you know. Deleting stuff is hit the damn delete key after you've selected it. Moving on over to the next one, we've got curves. Curves are more or less lines. Okay. Now you can set these up however you want, and right now all you need to know is that they exist. Truth be told, we don't need to worry about them anytime soon, and curves will play an important role later on, but right now, not so much. Also, there's a couple different versions you can do with this. See, just keep in mind that this is a 3D space, so you are drawing a line. You might get a flat line. You can go in later and edit it though, and there's just all kinds of versions of curves here. You can also attach curves, detach curves, not curves, and offset, tweak. This is basically your entire menu just for messing with these things. And I may not use all these tools, but they're all very helpful and very important. So keep in mind that they're there. Surfaces. Okay, now this is where things get interesting. You can use curves to create these, but these aren't NURBs. Now you're sitting there going, NURBs? What the hell's a NURB? A NURB is a 3D shape. By the way, I hit W to switch to my move key. A NURB is a 3D shape that literally takes on a 3D printable body. It's similar to a polygon, but the big difference is if I were to right click and hit Control Vertex, these vertexes, if you've noticed, aren't directly connected to the mesh. They're completely separate. And if I move them, they'll move the geometry with them. They're basically super round, super calculated or objects. I can't say polygons because they're not polygons. It's rather interesting to work with these. And just to make sure that you guys understand, we do have our cubes, we do have our cylinders, and so on and so forth. So yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of these. Since I've already clicked on this over here, I'm going to go ahead and explain these. You've got your obvious selector. You've got this right here, which allows you to lasso your set of stuff. This can actually be really helpful later on down the line when doing like faces and stuff, but I'm not even gonna lie, I don't use it. Or at least not as much as I should. This is actually a paint selection. Think of like if you had to select what you want to take out of like a piece of clay using a paintbrush. That's what this does, essentially. Your movement tool. Let's go ahead and just toss something down so that you can actually see this. Your movement tool. Your rotation tool. And then we've got our manipulator tool. This is or not manipulator, scale tool. I don't know why I called it manipulator. This will allow you to scale stuff around. Okay? Let's go ahead and continue on. Polygons. This is real simple, real cut, real dry. This will actually create polygon shapes. This is also the one I'll use most during the tutorials. It's very self-explanatory, but the thing to keep in mind is, once again, right-clicking and selecting face, I can actually select independent pieces, and if you notice, it moves geometry, but much different than the NURB. It's only going to move that one polygon and the edges around it. Edges being these little lines. Just as an example, I'll select one and yeah. Remember, when you move a selected piece, it'll move the connecting pieces as well, but only the directly connected pieces. There's a way to actually get around that, but we'll go over that later. Now, specifically in the polygon menu, I gotta go over a couple of things. This is a really interesting one. While there are a bunch of shapes, we're just gonna skip those, and it's pretty easy. Combined, basically allows you to merge stuff together. More or less bring stuff into a single object. This I normally use this menu right here, but we'll get into those menus here in a bit. And keep in mind, these menus up here are going to change as you change a very specific menu. We'll go over that after I get done with this bomb row, because this bomb row will indefinitely be here and is even customizable. But we've got a smooth, we've got extrude, this is going to be a big one. Interactive split tool, this is going to be another big one. Bridge, this actually connects two things together. So if I do this, and then I go and I merge these together, right? There's a big gap in between, but we don't want that gap. So we'll select the edges, and boom, now there's a bridge between them. Anyways. Oh, because I got selected to faces. Silly me, sorry. Moving on. I don't think I've ever used this actually. Cut faces tool. This tool basically, same principle, but instead you're cutting up pieces. Check this. So if I do like this, now there's an extra edge. Boom, boom. You can do this as many times as you want, or as many times as you need necessary. The truth is you want to be careful about how you use this tool, if you even ever use this tool. A lot of people are going to tell you try to avoid using it if you can, because there are just better ways to do it. I'll show you why later. Flip triangles. Here's a big pro tip. Most people who work in the industry work with polygons, but in the gaming industry, triangles are literally the way to go. So if you end up making a mesh using triangles, and I believe you can do that through this menu right here under mesh. Yep, triangulate. Boom. Suddenly there's a bunch of triangles. Well, if you want to, say, reverse those so that they're going the other way, I'm guessing this would be the tool. I actually never use it. I don't use triangles. But it's there just in case you need it. Collapse. Yeah, this collapses the selected edge or face and brings the two nodes together. By the way, I know I didn't mention it earlier, so allow me to mention it now. These edges on a polygon are called verts. Verts are literally just little corners. Even on triangles or whatever, these are corners. Okay? And we'll just go from there. Anyways, moving on. Deformation. This one allows non-linear bend. I actually never messed with this menu. I need to play around with this sometime. Maybe I'll show you guys. Animation. This one's important because this one deals with the animation end of everything. You can set a keyframe, attach a motion path, and set motion path, motion trail, which is always fun. Oops. Ghosting. I don't think I've ever used ghosting either, but no ghosting. The big part is gonna be these right here. These are literally bones, for lack of better terms. For lack of better terms, they call them joints, but this is how we're gonna rig and animate. And I'll actually go more over this menu later. Know that's here for now, but it's gonna get really complicated, and I really want to get to other stuff so that you guys know where we're going at least when we're doing stuff. Dynamics. This will give physics or even particle effects to your stuff. Look through this menu, guys. If you got Maya, look through this menu. There's some interesting stuff. Just keep in mind that for the optimal settings, you are going to have to tweak some stuff. Flame effect. Anyways, rendering. Once again, this allows you to get materials, but you know what? I'm just going to pop back over to... You know what? No. We're going to get back into stuff later. I'm going to tell you right now, you never need to touch this menu similar to general. This is not necessary to touch. It can help, it can work, not necessary. Paint effects. This is a trippy one because you can do all kinds of stuff like this. I just painted grass. Enjoy your grass. But it basically allows you to paint stuff, and you can customize these as well, or even download special paintbrushes off the internet. Look around, have fun with it. There's some really cool stuff to be had with this, and it makes things real quick, real simple for certain projects. Keep in mind, once again, there are going to be things that you're going to have to change, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. This is an interesting menu because this is toon shading. Toon shading allows us to make that cartoon feel back into 3D. This is where you get stuff where if you watch Rooster Teeth and red, white, black, and yellow, he probably used the toon shader, which is really cool. I'll try to show you guys this sometime. We'll see. Muscle. This is a special menu. I don't recommend even touching this until you're a lot more advanced, but this is basically similar to the animation end, but instead of doing bones, you're actually attaching muscle, fat, and there's a lot of deformation involved. This will murder your computer if you do not have a strong enough computer. Keep that in mind. We will try to go over at least a section of this later, but keep in mind that I've never done a rig using this. I want to so bad, but I don't even know if my computer can handle it right now. Moving on, fluids. Same basic idea set. This is a contained particle. So, I still got that going. My bad. This is basically a water container. These things are interesting because you can actually get fluid effects inside these little areas. Once you've got a container, you basically need a emitter, which you can set in here, and we'll let you go over that another time also. This is a really interesting one because it's preset particles, and it will isolate them for you so that you don't have to worry about, oh my god, are my particles going everywhere? Are they messing up everything? Is it going to be a mess? We can work with this, okay? Furs. These are fun because any polygon shape you have, let's just throw one down, will actually be covered. So boom, grass poly or grass fur setup. Let's do a quick render. This shouldn't be too rough. Boom. You know, not even 2 seconds. Amazing what furs do, and Once again, you can make animals with this and tweak it, and we'll try to go over this as well, hopefully in the future. If we don't, I apologize. Feel free to request it. I will gladly put this up. The hair system. We'd also need a polygon set for this one. I'm going to tell you right now. I will not be demonstrating the hair system until I have learned how to control it better, unless there's enough requests. I do know the hair system. I can work with it, but it is really rough, really tiresome, and you will need a lot of practice as well as a lot of know-how. And there are probably better ways than I know how to do it. I'm not even gonna lie. But you can do amazing things with it, and it gives real flowing hair that feels correct. So keep that in mind. In cloth. This is actually how you get realistic cloth. Once again, we're going to do a couple of polygons just for demonstration purposes, and then we're going to move on. So for end cloth, what we're doing is we're literally making a cloth out of a polygon. So let's see, we'll turn this into a cloth, and then we'll turn this into a not so cloth. No, I'm just kidding, it's called a collider. And we'll toss it at 200 frames, just so we can run this. You can kind of see how physics suddenly take effect, right? That's basically cloth in a nutshell, but we're going to actually control that fall, control what the object is, and control how it reacts to its environment another time. Once again, this is a menu tutorial. So, let's go up next to the next thing. The next thing is going to fall within two different steps. It's going to fall into this top menu up here, and this little bar right here. Polygons, surfaces, dynamics, rendering, nucleus dynamics, and then there's a custom. Let's just do a quick overview of these, and then I'll go ahead and wrap this up, and we're actually going to get into how to tweak a polygon and how to work with them. In Polygon, you literally start with, I believe it's mesh. Let me see. Nope, it's select. Select, mesh, edit mesh, proxy, normals, color. I don't think I've ever messed with color either. Create UVs. This one's going to be important for you lazy ones out there who just want a quick, easy fix stuff. Once again, keep in mind, this is not the best option. But if you're in a hurry, or if the object's not that difficult, this is not a bad thing to have. Edit UVs, which allows you to kind of edit and warp them. And why muscles here? I don't know. Then you've got cache and help. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, I know you're expecting me to go over these. Literally, I'm only going to go over two of these menus. Combine, separate, extract. Extract literally takes a piece out of another piece. Booleans, smooth, average vertices, transfer attributes. This is another one because you can actually transfer the settings of one object to another object. Paint transfer attribute weights. This is going to be kind of important if you're transferring weights from one rig to another rig. Just keep in mind that it might just be better to paint it from scratch. Transfer string settings, clipboard actions, reduce. Don't ever use reduce. It will mess up your polygons. Paint reduced weight tool. Cleanup. Cleanup is important because it'll allow you to fix up a mesh. I'll show you how to use this later. Triangulate and I can't even quadrangulate. I'm gonna take a crack at it, right? I've never used this part, but the triangulate I have. But this supposedly helps your meshes. I have been warned against this tool over and over in the quadrangulate. Fill hole is pretty obvious. Make hole is pretty obvious. Create polygon tool. Yeah. Sculpt geometry. This will allow you to sculpt basic geometry, but don't expect fabulous things. if you're a real pro with it, you can create good models right here in Maya without ever exporting it. On the other hand, for the rest of us, I'm actually going to show you a different program called ZBrush, but that's later down the line. There's also stuff like Mudbox and Sculptress. We'll get into that later. Mirror cut and mirror geometry. Mirror geometry is going to be very important in the future. Keep in mind that this is under the Mesh tab. Edit Mesh. Extrude. Bridge. Append polygon tool. Project curve on mesh. Split mesh with projection curve. Cut face tool. I'm sure you recognize that some of these tools were already on our menus. Intersect edge loop tool, offset edge loop tool, add divisions, slide edge tool, transfer components, flip triangle, poke face, wedge face, duplicate face, connect components, merge to center, collapse. Yeah, you should recognize all these already because we went over them earlier. But keep in mind that these are here and where this menu is. Surfaces. Edit curves. This is going to be important for rigging. Surfaces. This is going to literally give us the surfaces that we had earlier with the NURBS. Edit NURBS. Muscle. Because yes, the muscle system is actually a NURB setup. You'll see what I mean later. Dynamics. This is the one that all of you guys love. This is particles. And it starts with assets and particles. Particle tool, create emitter. These are going to be what allows you to make the particles and actually set up stuff. Fluid effects. This is going to lag your system, but it's going to give you those awesome water effects. I'm even going to try and show you how to separate it from the regular scene while keeping it together with the regular scene. So you can kind of do two different renders and then compile them. But that's a story for another time. Fluid cache. This is going to cache your fluid particles. Literally using this menu is going to be what allows you to control what your particles do and how they do it so that you can actually scroll back and forth using your timeline. Keep in mind that when using particle effects or any special effect, they are not controllable until you cache them. Once you cache them, it literally records their placement in your system, and with that recorded placement allows you to play it back and forth and make adjustments. Just keep in mind that it's not as simple as it sounds. Let's see, fields. This is something that allows you to manipulate where your particles go and all that. Soft and rigid bodies. This menu will actually allow us to decide what's going to be a solid object and what's going to either be a moving object or maybe just a pliable object. Effects. These are preset effects. Preset particles, you name it. Solvers. This is kind of pre-calculated stuff as well. It's literally just here to make your experience a little bit easier for people who don't want to go way up into detail work. And then our muscle system again. Rendering. Rendering is all about lighting and textures. So if you notice lighting and shading, textures, your render thing, keep in mind batch render is here, and this is going to be important later, as well as cancel batch render. Tune. This is basically going to also give you your tune shaders. Stereo. I'm not sure I've even used this before. Paint effects, fur, and I guess muscles just here indefinitely. Never noticed that. That must be new to 2014. I apologize, I didn't realize. Fur and paint effects are right here as well. So basically, this is a lot of stuff you've already noticed, but the big thing to keep in mind is render. Because we are going to have to actually use this menu. So, just keep that one in mind. And then in dynamics. This is like in mesh, in hair, in constraints. This is basically our nucleus particles. What's the difference between normal particles and nucleus particles, you ask? Normal particles work off individual systems. A nucleus particle system, though, or nucleus system, all use the same assets. So if I say the wind is going left, your in hair, your in cloth, and your in particles will say, left it is, sir. If you're using normal particles though, and you set wind going left to one set particles, that one set particles will go going left, sir. And the rest of them are going to say, you didn't tell me to do nothing. I'm not going. So keep that in mind. M particles all work together. Other particles don't. And that's actually kind of important because that's going to separate your stuff. You can also, affect assets, fields, but like I said, same as particles, just they work together. Literally. Which isn't always a good thing, but hey. So, that's more or less the basics. I can go over more menus, but honestly, from here, I guess the only other buttons I would honestly tell you about is these right here. These will allow you to select different things. Just mouse over them. They'll tell you exactly what they do, like renderable object, dynamic object, so on and so forth. These are different render views. Now, I'm going to toss that on Polygon once again, just to show you what these different render views do. This is just a regular render view. This actually shows you what was already done, or you can click this button right here to render what's there. Alright? This button right here, render the current frame. Pretty obvious. And then this one's IRP, or IPR, sorry. This is an interesting one because normally you'll actually get a blue grid. This time we're just going to select something, and you'll notice there's a red box. And if you notice, well, I guess you wouldn't notice, but it's actually rendering out where I'm selecting as I'm selecting it. So it's actually a active render module. So if I were to make, say, a change to this vert right here, right, and then go back in my render view and click this, boom, you'll notice the difference. Or I could do like this and it will just did it. But anyways, so let's see, anything else we need to go over? Attribute editor. This is a big menu. I'm not even going to bother going over it because every single object, every single thing has its own setup. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is you can select every single piece of your object here. This is going to be very important later. Keep this in mind. Tool settings. This is specifically for our tools over here. And if you notice, as I clicked on the paintbrush or create polygon tools, they popped up down here. Just something to keep in mind, just in case you want to reuse it. I'm going to close the tool settings. It just takes up space. And then we got our channel box. Now, channel and attribute will both be over here, so keep that in mind as best you can. But your channel box is going to keep all your information here. We're actually going to be resetting this, and I'll show you how to reset it. But this is literally going to keep track of like specifically inputs and things like that. Still very important. Still keep in mind where it is. Well, on that note, I've gone over a lot of the basics. Maybe not all of them. I'm going to try and go over more as I can, but I want you guys to have a basic idea of where I'm going and how I'm going and what's going on as I work through these next couple projects. The next couple projects we're going to be working on is, I'm going to try and do some mesh work. With our mesh work, I'm going to show you how to literally use some of these tools like the extrude tool and the interactive edge loop tool and stuff like that. After that, we're going to model something. And then after that, we're going to try and model a basic character. And then for Friday, I'm going to take you guys into ZBrush. And I'm going to show you ZBrush and how to sculpt with it. Keep in mind that I may actually keep our character model really rough, just so I can fully show off the potential of ZBrush. But I'm going to show off ZBrush in one big go because it is a monster of a program and something that is very important to the work that I personally do. We're not going to get into rigging right off the bat. We're not going to get into character animation right off the bat. And if that's what you're after, you're going to be waiting a little while. But I am going to try and go over it. I'm going to try and walk you through every step. And anything I didn't go over in these, I'm going to try and go over in every tutorial. Keep in mind, this may bog down some of you and you might go, get to the good stuff. But these are videos. Fast forward. On that note, I bid you all adieu. I thank you very much for watching. And please come back tomorrow. Have a nice day.